Paradigm Review Show, we are back. Let me know how the audio sounds. My level versus Gaz, we're still working on that, get it right. Today we have one more shot. Scott Adkins, Tom Berenger, introducing Gaz for a while. Been a while. Mosh Shinobi, go subscribe to him at the Mosh Shinobi channel.
Yeah, I've gone back to the Ninja Shadows temporarily, and I'll be there for a few more weeks yet. Just busy with school at the moment, folks, but I'll be back.
Yeah, he'll be in and out. He'll still be doing things with me and the Paradigm Review Show on Saturdays when we have things that we feel like that we want to review, which today, of course, as I said, the one shot, Scott Adkins, Michael Jai White, Tom Berenger. This is the sequel to, this is One More Shot. This is the sequel to One Shot, which I wanted to review that one when it came out. We didn't get around to it, but I think it's, just something kind of new and fresh to the action genre that I wanted to bring to you guys. As we said in the description, and as guys could read on IMDb and other places, first of all, check out the trailers. I think both trailers are on Scott Adkins' channel as well as other channels. But what makes these action movies different than the many other Adkins movies we review, or many other martial arts and action films that we review, is the director James Nunn actually shoots this, essentially all the action sequences in the entire film in one shot, in one take, meaning there's no cutaways, multi-cameras, multi-cutaways, things that you're used to seeing in other movies, action movies, and just movies in general. You're used to seeing a lot of cuts, a lot of angle changes. So you're not going to see any of that in the one-shot franchise, which I found interesting. I think Gaz and I both liked the first one. The first one looked to me like it had a little bit higher of a budget. It did have Ryan Phillippe. There was quite a few more named actors. Just for sake of trying to pull that one up for you guys. One shot. It was 2021. And just give you guys some backstory. An elite squad of Navy SEALs on a covert mission to transport a prisoner off a CIA black site island prison are trapped when insurgents attack while trying to rescue the same prisoner. So generally a basic plot, nothing wrong with that. It was Scott Adkins, Ashley Green Corey, and Ryan Phillippe. And yeah, that one I thought was awesome. It only has a 5.6 on IMDb. I gave it a 7. We're talking about the first one now, One Shot. And then back to One More Shot. So this dropped a lot more recently. So they added Michael Jai White to the mix. That's a PXF fan favorite. Of course, Scott Adkins, as we said. Tom Berenger plays the CIA agent, Mike Marshall. I thought Tom Berenger worked as the CIA chief of officer. Guys, what was your take? Just starting with him.
Yeah, I thought he was pretty good, actually. Played the role well. It was nice to see him, get some shine. Yeah, definitely one of the standouts.
Yeah, Tom Berenger, he's of legendary 90s sniper fame. You know what I mean? If you're an OG 80s, 90s action head, of course, you recognize the name Tom Berenger. And again, he's the age is up for him, so he's not really in like the same type of elite sniper assassin roles that he took back then. But obviously has the combat role experience. He still did get some pistol action in this, and maybe just your take on some of the so the way they set it up, I thought they get it moving pretty quickly. Once again, they're just to set up some plot. They're moving this prisoner and to this the airport terminal, and basically they get set upon pretty much in the first 15-20 minutes, I would say, or less, by this terrorist faction. So what was your early impressions, Gaz, as far as plot and just the filming style?
I really like the filming style. Definitely follows on straight from the first movie. It really gave it a sense of there's another movie called Hardcore Henry, which was done in like a first person, like it's essentially a movie of a first person shooter perspective.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And it did, and it kind of reminded me of that. It really does make you feel fully immersed, like you are witnessing the action. You're along for the ride. So I thought it was really good. It made it more gritty and grimy, especially with some of the fights that we'll get into. The way it was set up, I liked it. It still relates to the first movie, which was good. So it's got that link there. did remind me of some political TV series. Some of the OG heads might remember 24 with Kiefer Sutherland and the spin-offs. Kind of reminded me of that. But I thought the actors who played, I think it was Mina Rayan, who played Nisha Mansour, and the other guy, and now my mind is evaporating on me, Walid El Gadi, who played Aman Mansour. I thought they were pretty good, actually, for the roles they were given. And then...
That's him and his wife you're referring to?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
And they hit the ground running, man, as soon as they started coming out of the airport terminals, pretty much. Spoiler alert, folks. That's it. It's just, you're pretty much there's the ride, non-stop.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I thought, the acting is actually probably a lot better than I think what most people would expect. Expecting like, okay, it's this fast-paced action movie that's all shot in one take, as we were saying. Well, up and down, because we'll both come to the characters who we thought were a bit more cringe. But as far as Gaz said, the terrorist and a wife, I thought their role came across well. Obviously Atkins is the main character, Jake Harris. One thing that always makes me funny, that's funny to me about these Navy SEALs is in one shot and one more shot, it's Atkins knows 10 martial arts styles. How many Navy SEALs do you see throwing these tornado question mark kicks and just obviously martial arts combinations that are I don't know how much kung fu they do in Navy SEAL training. But anyway, for an action movie, it works for what we're, again, the single takes. I guess we could start with the good and then get into some of the stuff. Honestly, the first movie, I thought it had a bigger budget because it kind of had the bigger set pieces, the bigger landscapes, the explosions, the vehicles, the grenades. And so this one I thought was a lot more constricted as far as, it basically takes place in the airport terminal. So it's essentially just those waiting areas and the hallways, and which it's a totally different look, totally different feel. It gives it a totally different direction as far as directing wise. I just thought the other one did more visually with background video VFX and whatnot. Now it's not necessarily a bad thing because maybe there's more technical martial arts fighting choreography, which Gaz can get into. He's a little bit more fresher on that than myself as far as actual practicality of training, but like I said, Berenger, I think he's kind of off to the races. There's some good political double-cross twists. Yeah. As far as Jake trying to navigate the terminal, kind of get that guy out of there, and then the other complications of additional plot elements, which you guys can either watch the film or we'll post the trailers for you guys, of course, as always. Some of those Jai White's team, I thought those guys were a little bit fill-in baddies. They're kind of filler baddies. He had those two dudes. My brother and I were calling them, the one dude that Atkins fought on the train car was a bootleg Michael Venom Page, and then
I like that scene actually. But
then that other dude was a discount Jan Blachowicz. He was essentially a bootleg our boy from Unisol. He was essentially a bootleg Andrei Arvlevsky. Yeah. You know what I mean? But other than his team kind of just being filler baddie stand-ins, I thought the way they introduced Jai White was pretty cool. I'm gonna be honest, I could have used a little bit more Jai White in my mix.
Yeah, he wasn't in it too much, was he?
I thought Berenger would just be kind of a cameo, Tom Berenger. He's famous from Sniper, so they're just gonna throw him in hey, we got Tom Berenger in the movie. But you actually got a lot more Tom Berenger than I thought, and a bit less Jai White, which I'm thinking okay, the big thing is the Jai White Atkins fight, right? So I thought but he's only in I think probably maybe 3 or 4 scenes that I counted. So I think you would agree with that, guys.
Yeah, totally. That was one of the definite disappointments. I would have liked to have seen him more in the movie. Yes, his team did feel a bit like a substitute. However, I did like that scene with Adkins fighting, I think the character is called Dunbar, played by Aaron Tony, on the train. That was pretty good, actually.
That was a sick fight.
Yeah, it was the way it moved. You'll see how the whole thing is set up and it plays out, folks. I think definitely getting back to the budget, because it's obvious, I think, the difference with compared to one shot to one more shot. They've essentially, it's almost like, to put this in a video game perspective, we'll move to area B and then we'll focus really intensely on area B and we'll make the most of it in this sandbox and sell that to the viewer. And I'm not meaning that in a bad way at all. And I thought that was one of the good executions. And I did like in the fights, and you can talk about some of the gunplay as well, I liked some of the angles that they showed as well. Particularly there was one very early in the movie where they're ambushed outside the airport terminal and they're using the trucks for cover. I really did like how you saw the different angles and perspectives and made you feel like they were firing the 9mm with the assault rifles, etc. That was dope. Even when the I think Adkins was in the Jeep at the time and they were kind of all surrounded. That was good. I liked how they set that up. That gave it more of a real world combat dynamic to me. So I thought that was definitely excellent.
Yeah, what's interesting, or as Gaz was saying, is some of the long shots and the pullouts, because you're really not going to get the flipping of the camera as we described earlier. It's kind of just a pull back, and when they show you that back angle, the camera literally turns. So, as Gaz was saying, that kind of gives you that first person perspective. You know, especially with the close quarters combat, as Gaz was saying, it does kind of give you that feel as you're standing there in the hallway watching these two guys fight right in front of you, as opposed to you're on your couch watching a movie and it's 1,000 miles away in a movie scene. It does, the director James Nunn does give you a good job of giving you that intimate choreography perspective, as Gaz was saying. A couple decent fights, despite the one Gaz said on the train car, which I think that was a knife fight, right, Gaz? So that was pretty sick between the handrails or the hand poles. That one fight on the stairwell, where I think Adkins question mark kicks him off and it zooms down and shows the body. That was mean, brutal. You know. That was mean. And then the way the enemies pop up on them kind of randomly and start shooting at them, it does give you that realistic I don't want to say randomness, but like abrupt feel, because like it moves like 1 second, you'll have a little bit of dialogue, or like, whoa, what are they slowing down with the talking scene? And then within seconds, they're on them, shooting at them. You're like, okay, that's kind of realistic, because you wouldn't just be sitting there in a terminal under attack having that long conversation with no one coming at you. So that was pretty cool. Another one I want to highlight is, I believe I don't know if it's in the back of one of the kitchens, but it's that tight hallway with the crates. And I think Atkins starts with the pistol and goes to, I believe it's the MP5, as Gaz was saying, with those kind of close quarter shots. And he hides around the corner and waits for them to come by. And then they have the long rifles and he disarms them. I really like that claustrophobic. Takes you back to, say, Raid Redemption or any of those other, maybe some of the early Tony Jaa stuff, where even some of the early Jet Li stuff, where you have those like claustrophobic room fights and they're just in that tight hallway, and obviously Atkins is outnumbered because he's got very few men with him, and the terrorist cell has the however many hundreds of the mercs they hired. So pretty much indispensable body bags of the baddies. I mean, it's just a run and gun. I don't know if anyone's done the kill count for it on YouTube, but that would be an interesting exercise for you guys to do when you do your rewatch. See if you can count the kill count, because it'll be a massive one by the end.
yeah, definitely, for sure. Yeah. I thought, with that said, where it was showing you things happen very suddenly and then abruptly in moments, I thought this is something that perhaps people will miss. That demonstrated the difference between people who are trained, who you would likely think, that is someone trained with military or combat experience, to someone who isn't. And I thought that was a good contrast, and they demonstrated that perfectly.
Yeah, even the guys, as I was critical on them, who I said weren't the best actors in the world. Again, it's a martial arts action film. That it's not a foreign drama, so it doesn't need to necessarily be dialogue driven. As Gaz said, Dunbar and the other higher level guys, and then also the just the brutality of the enemies. They really displayed no regard for the civilian life, and so I did think their level of taking the money for the job and their pretty much indifference to evil certainly did come across. I mean, they're definitely bad guys. I wouldn't say they were weak villains, so to speak, other than I think the one officer who was giving orders under Jai White kind of both got on our nerves. Gaz, was that Alexis Knapp, who played Jennifer Lomax. And I mean, I'm gonna give her a compliment before we rip her apart. Her proficiency with the firearms and the way she
that was good.
reacted, it looked like she did train for the role. Her acting, however, I think I'll let Gaz go in on some of the cringe dialogue, and her voice, I think, certainly grained on both of our ears at times. So, R.I.P. to your ears. She was a little bit cringy at times, as far as.
She was the most cringeworthy thing in the movie. Sadly, it was a complete turn-off. I've got to say, to be honest, folks, think of an aggressive librarian using various weapons. That's pretty much it. I really did feel like I was in as I said, the library at college, and I was going to be getting a scolding because I've returned something back too late or feeding or whatever. It's just like that. Look, I haven't seen her in anything else, so I cannot make a comparison there. Perhaps she's done some other good stuff. But man, her voice, I mean, I remember when I was watching at the time, I sent Ross a text, and I pretty much said to him, man, this is like somebody who is the embodiment of anti-Viagra. If you heard her voice, things would just flop instantly.
Yeah, the voice was tough.
Yeah, it was hard on the ears, folks. However, I will give this positive just to balance it out, I guess. She does have presence. Debatable whether it's good or bad, but she does have presence, and she certainly is the trader character who's got her own agenda, doesn't care. Everyone's pretty much expendable as well. So I'll give it that.
Yeah, the only thing is with the double crosses, they may have done that a little too much, because when you have too many enemies double crossing and triple crossing, by the time you get past a triple cross, you do run the risk of doing too many crosses because it becomes predictable. I think you would agree with that, Gaz.
Yeah, it did, like I said earlier, it did remind me of some political TV series, such as, like I said, 24 with Kiefer Sutherland, and the ones where there's like triple crosses galore kind of happen throughout every season. It's like just when you think someone's okay, then they cross someone and it goes on. So yeah, this certainly had that flavor to it as well.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of the Jack Reacher stuff, but I imagine it's a similar type of concept. I know Gaz is a little more familiar with it than I, and then also I think like the Terminal List, basically anything where you have like an elite level commando. That being said, I do think Scott Adkins has a way higher martial arts proficiency than any of those Hollywood actors do.
Yeah,
try not to eat it all in one bite, buddy. The dog is crazy. I'd say let's get to the probably what most are waiting for us to address, and that is the Michael Jai White Scott Adkins fight, which obviously you could see the movie is generally. Actually, real quick before we get to that, I'm gonna do a little mini spoiler. You guys could go see this film or pause this review and hold off or fast forward, whatever you need to do to avoid the spoiler. When the mercs were wearing those face masks, it was pretty obvious at one point that Adkins is going to put that on and use the old Luke Skywalker stormtrooper technique, which is like, because there's all, Adkins is basically by himself in that facility, so it's not realistic for him to kill every single guy solo, although he kills most of them. So when that point comes and he does use the disguise, and they're like about to kill the terrorist and his wife, and they're just like they were telling like Adkins to do it, right? They're like just kill her, and obviously you know what happens. Adkins is the good guy, so he's not just going to kill a random civilian because they gave him the order to. So Adkins switches up that one on them, which I thought was a pretty badass scene. Like some of the stuff he pulled, and even his acting with just the eye, his face is covered at that point, so it's just the eyes. You could kind of see what he could do. You could see him weighing the decision, like, oh crap, what should I do here? Because if I don't shoot her, they're obviously going to shoot me. But you also know he's not going to shoot her. So I mean, I thought it was cool. He conveyed the emotion, acting wise, even with his face covered, which I think is can be relatively difficult for actors to do. So the Michael Jai White fight inevitably comes about because you see the two names on the movie, and you know that there's a Jai White's been introduced as one of the higher level merc baddies, and obviously you already know Adkins is a good guy from the first movie, so you obviously know that the showdown is going down. I think Gaz can weigh in on this fight as good because he's good at deconstructing the martial arts choreography. Overall, I thought the fight was good. Some big swings from Jai White, some big kicks from Adkins. I would have expected more, guys. I would have thought that this fight would have been a little bit longer just because the amount of build-up before it, but we'll get your response.
I hope they do another movie together. Aside from the one we covered a couple of years ago that I've now forgotten. Yeah, Triple Threat, which was dope. Yeah. I'm big fans of them both, but I've got to say I don't feel the fight did the movie justice. And this isn't a terrible movie by any measure. It's Ross said it's a little short. It's good. It does come across. Did you get the sense like there was sparring though, even though it was good? Just kind of feeling each other out a bit.
Yeah, I thought a lot of the swings, but also I thought there could have been a tinge of realism to that because Adkins, we'd have to look up his weight. He's only 185 or 195, right? And Jai White is 230 plus. So in real life, if Jai White lands one haymaker on Adkins, he's going to sleep. You know what I mean? So a lot of that, is like. If you're Adkins, you're the smaller guy, you're going to use your speed. Gaz obviously knows this, comes from a martial arts background. But you're not going to just like, hey, I'm going to box him and stand right in front of him, right? Because that's not going to work on a guy that size who has the, martial arts repertoire that Jai White has, even in the context of he's this character in this movie. A lot of stuff that we didn't go into is this is an outdoor fight, which I thought was one of the better scenes. Jai White is in disguise of the ambulance, which my brother and I thought was hilarious. We're like, yeah, that giant jack dude who's obviously a martial artist posing as an ambulance driver. Like, no one, that's not gonna slip by anybody. He's like, what? He's 6'3", 6'4", like 240. But so they square off. There is a lot of plot elements with the plutonium, moving the plutonium, securing the plutonium. Gaz and I didn't go much into that. I feel it's just easier for you guys to watch the film anyway, and it's not that much of an in-depth plot that it should go over your head or slip by you in any way. So there's some good back and forth with them, and and I feel the outdoor that kind of got out of the claustrophobic indoor firefight scenes that Gaz was alluding to earlier.
I think it's for that reason. That's why they did it. So the only bad the Michael J. White Adkins fight is a little short. Did get the sense they were, like I said, feeling each other out a bit, but it's not terrible. There's certainly some good exchanges between them, but we need to see that happen more. I would like another movie them together where they're facing off. And we can maybe see them have 3 fights. One gets the better of one in the early fight. The middle fight's kind of like there's no decider, and then the final fight's kind of we see the victor. Possibly, I'll just say they do set it up for another sequel. Not everything is resolved, and I thought the way they did that was actually quite good. I'll just say there's a nice kind of I'll say it like this, folks. You get a minor actor appear on the plane, spoiler alert, at the end, and even his small appearance, which was only for, a minute or two, I thought it was pretty good. It wasn't like a standard, sometimes small-time actor or extra where it comes in and they have maybe like one sentence of dialogue and it's delivered horrendously. I thought he was okay, actually. So it does leave it with a follow-on, and it would be interesting to see if they get an increase in budget, or if they've got the same budget or less, if they're going to we'll maybe focus on a particular environment here and maybe try to do something different, maybe to continue the outside urban feel, possibly with them pursuing each other. That could possibly work. Shout out to Mr. Flack Nasty as well. You're making me think of a band who've got a very similar name to that. But anyway, it's just thanks for coming through, man. It's appreciated.
Yeah, if you just won your scratch ticket while watching Paradigm Review Show, that's just further proof that PXF is the truth. So as far as what Gaz was saying, I felt the outdoor setting for the showdown fight opened up Adkins for the the aerial kicks, the question mark kicks, the tornado kicks, which was definitely interesting. Jai White obviously dodging the kicks. He's the taller fighter. As Gaz was saying, I wouldn't even be mad if that resolution that Gaz was just referring to, the Adkins Jai White fight, if that's in One Shot 3, because as Gaz alluded to, they did kind of leave it open for that. So I'm just gonna give the spoiler. So this fight is not resolved via combat. Adkins actually, I think we said Jai White's character name earlier. I mean, when we say Michael Jai White, you guys should know who we're talking about. He's probably one of the highestly well-known names in martial arts action. He's Robert Jackson, as Gaz just said in this film. So Adkins, Harris handcuffs Jackson to the items in the background. So that's out. That's kind of his workaround to get through the fight, which I thought was a realistic resolution, because Jai White is the way bigger fighter. So if it came down to just significant strikes or Jai White throwing a massive kick or a massive punch, he definitely has way more knockout power than Adkins has. Despite a movie, even watching that, sizing the two of them up, you can clearly see that that's the case. I'd say, Adkins is the younger fighter. I don't know if that would necessarily make a difference. Probably not in this context. So he also leaves Jackson alive. So if he leaves him to get arrested, which I think is badass, because if Jackson escapes before he gets arrested, then obviously he wants revenge on Harris, as Gaz was saying. So if they can set that up with either a couple more decent fights in One Shot 3, or I would even just settle for a little bit more build-up with a much more, like Harris handcuffed him last time, let him live, but this time Jackson's coming to kill him. Well, then he's going to have to stop him next time. He's not going to just handcuff him every time and leave him there. This isn't Batman, So.
Yeah, exactly. And they could even set that up even with more plot, because here's another spoiler, folks. One more spoiler, I guess. There is someone on the inside who they're working with, if I remember right. I think, isn't it on the... Because I'll just say Lomax and several of them managed to...
A couple moles.
Yeah, managed to elude, and there's definitely a high-up mole. And I think, if I remember correctly, we don't know who that is yet. As I said earlier, if you think of various political TV series that have been around since the 2000s to present, mixed with martial arts, that is pretty much One More Shot.
A lot of espionage.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm a big espionage guy. We haven't gotten too much into
it's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, the Tom Clancy's and the Marcinkos. You guys have seen us do Bond, which Gaz and I are relatively general, essentially MI5, OG Bond fanboys, but clearly haven't done much with it, given that was Craig's last film, so we're waiting to see where that franchise goes. Good or a bad thing, depending on who they pick to helm the franchise. But anyway, that's pretty much all we got on One More Shot. I definitely recommend you guys check it out. I would start with the first one, see if you like that, if you're interested in that type of filming style. Definitely kudos to the director, kudos to Adkins. I pretty much like everything he promotes on his channel. I would say go ahead and subscribe to Scott Adkins' channel as well. He does the Art of Action film series, where he interviews martial arts stars. He's had literally everyone on there. I don't know if he's had Jean-Claude, but he's had Seagal. I'm pretty sure he's had John Hyams, who Gaz and I interviewed, the director of the Universal Soldier franchise, the later films. He had Keanu Reeves recently, where they talked John Wick and Point Break. That was excellent. I think that was his biggest one. Really, really good series. Mark Dacascos, basically all of his martial arts action co-stars Adkins has on there, and he does deconstructed choreography, kind of like me and Gaz just did, only he actually shows the scenes. He's like, hey, let's take a look at this, and then he talks a breakdown with the actor, which is sick. The Keanu Reeves one was 2-part. That was excellent. So definitely, anyway, subscribe to Adkins' channel. I believe he's got a Patreon as well. So while you're signing up for our Patreon here at PXF Zodiac Files, go over to Scott Adkins' channel, subscribe there, and sign up to his Patreon. I think that's generally everything. We could do our quick ratings. So One More Shot. It only has a 5.5 on IMDb, which I think is kind of bullcrap. I did give it a 6, but I would give it up to a 7, to be honest.
7.
Yeah. You're around the same. So
yeah, I'd give it a 7. I just want to shout out 2 movies for Flag Nasty and anybody else. Definitely check out one of Jay White's earlier films, which I believe is Born. That's a pretty great movie. And Triple Threat, which we covered a few years ago, which has all the guys in. Yeah, and Also, McNasty, one championship which you probably watch, Karate Combat as well. Those are dope outside UFC, and of course BKFC as well, which is always killer. And thanks for coming through and supporting, man. And thanks to everybody out there that's supporting the channels as well. You know, don't forget to follow and subscribe to Planet X Films, Mosh Shinobi as well. I am on a bit of a hiatus at the moment with school, but I will be here for random shows like this with Ross in a weekend, and of course follow the Zodiac series as well that Ross does.
Yeah, Gaz and I will be trying to get the martial arts action stuff, on weekends on both channels when we can. We'll be going through our backlog. We're also going to do a bunch of legacy PXF classics for you guys, such as Apocalypse Now, The Crow, we're Toxic Avenger. We're gonna beat all those remakes as the new trailers drop. On the BKFC front, I'll be attending Knucklemania next month in LA. Nice. So if you guys want me to review, or you want me and Gaz to go back and forth on that, we can talk about that. That's Mike Perry versus Alves. UFC tonight, I am going some quick picks. I got Sean O'Malley, hopefully the KO on Cheetah Vera. Maybe Burns, that's going to be a tough fight. I want Poirier to win. That's going to be a tough fight. I'm hoping Piotr Jan beats Song. That's going to be a tough fight. So we got a sick main event. And then, of course, we haven't even mentioned the AJ knockout from yesterday, guys. Knockout Chaos at Raida. That was insane.
It was, and he's challenged. Apparently, I haven't read too much on this because I've been in the books all day with school, but he supposedly, from what I read, has challenged Tyson Fury.
Yep.
Has said, look, let's get it on. And one thing I've noticed, this seems to be a more focused, serious AJ again, back on his game. I mean, he took this fight seriously. I think Tyson, or respect, maybe didn't do that first time around. Yeah. Certainly wouldn't do that again.
No.
But no, AJ looks sharp, was on point, man. And,
Tyson better be careful with AJ too, because we know I don't think Francis has ever been finished, so he got crazy, knocked out. If you're talking about sighting in on the Zodiac flag, definitely get that. That book changed my whole perception of the Zodiac case. If you don't know about Donald Lee Cheney, subscribe to Drew Beeson's channel. The other fight is Kevin Holland versus Michael Venom Page, MVP, legendary UK martial arts star. So that's going to be crazy. I'm really interested to see how MVP does on the UFC platform. So in the meantime, the Patreon is live. You can go support PXF and the Zodiac Files there. That you'd be supporting shows like this, Paradigm Review Show, our movie TV show, as well as Zodiac Files, my main series. Rodelli is coming back up probably this week. We have some more DNA and information to cover with Mike Rodelli and more updates with him. Going to be bringing a special guest up with him. I have a bunch for the interview series. There's probably 3 or 4 shows that are coming up scheduled. Main series, Zodiac Files episode 4 is coming soon. I know I have to say that a lot. I did do like an 8-hour edit with Gabe, the other weekend. So we are working on it. I think it's the best episode in my opinion. When it comes out, it's going to be right. Of course, you can join the memberships below. Of course, subscribe in the meantime for all updates. Click the bell for notifications. YouTube.com/PlanetXFilm. Subscribe to Mosh Shinobi. Gaz has got the American Ninja retrospectives, and he's covering all stuff. I am going to start Shogun, Gaz. Hopefully, we will both be covering Shogun. I think it has a 90% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's supposedly one of the highest. I think it's one of the highest rated shows ever. People are saying right now. So I don't mind Hulu. Hulu actually has some decent stuff on it. Arguably better than Netflix at times.
And folks, if you're wondering where the next American Ninja retrospectives are, they will be coming. I have to focus on school at the moment. I'm absolutely swamped to death. So there will be American Ninja 4, American Ninja 5, and then me and Ross are going to be doing a kind of American Ninja legacy series together where we'll look back at the movies, do some comparisons, funnily enough, with another great movie by Scott Adkins, which is Ninja and Ninja 2, because there's definitely an influence on them, and we do have some things that we've been talking about behind the scenes that we could maybe hopefully set up connected to that, and that's all I can say. So if those are wondering, where's this dude, where's Mosh Shinobi, who's in the shadows, folks, I've got to focus on school, and I'm looking at hopefully relocating to Europe as well, so everything is kind of insane at the moment, but I will be here when able.
Yeah, no, it's. I mean, again, it's there's a lot going on behind the scenes, guys. We don't really cue you in on everything. I'm working on a project with Lauren Lepre, friend of the channel, helmsman, director, writer of the Dark Military franchise.
Yeah.
We're expecting something big. I'm not going to say what because it's too early, on for me to give Lauren's announcement. But you can subscribe to Average Superstar TV. That's obviously his channel. I'm sure he'll announce it when ready. But I'm working closely with him on his next project. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to say what it is or anything. I actually don't know because he hasn't even told me, and I'm behind the scenes working on it with him. So there will be updates on that. That's going to be interesting. And so a lot more Zodiac projects are coming up. It's going to involve me traveling up to the Bay Area and doing shooting. So like Gaz said, a lot of travel, a lot of new content, a lot of stuff. Best way to queue in, of course, you can follow us on X, but Patreon, membership, subscribe. Those are the keys right now. We're gonna come back after a short break, and we're gonna do the Dune Part 2 review. That's one of my top series here on the channel. Dune, Blade Runner, Aliens. There's certain verses that we're always gonna cover here, even if I do move the movie reviews to another channel. So. Stay tuned. We're gonna do some couple posts, and then we're gonna get the Dune Part 2 review coming up soon. And if you haven't seen Dune, I say watch the first one first, and make sure you get to the theater ASAP for Dune Part 2. Possibly movie of the year. I don't know if anything's gonna beat it. Certainly not cinematography and score wise. So we'll cover that in this next review coming up soon. One Shot, Scott Adkins, 2024, Michael Jai White, Tom Berenger, go check that out. It's definitely good if you want to see we're just bringing it to you guys because I think it's something fresh in action martial arts. A lot of times you just get the same old blueprint, the same old thing, and this is something different. That's why we chose to highlight it. So check that one out.
Yeah, definitely. And we'll see you on June 2 in a couple of minutes. So peace out. And,
shout out to doubleheader today, guys. Shout out to everybody who came through. Mr. Flacknaski, congratulatory on the scratch ticket. You're the man.
Big ups, man. Big ups.
Quick break, and we'll be back for Dune Part 2. We're out. Paradigm Review Show.